And hello and welcome back to another edition of Kearney Live. I'm Jim Dickerson along with Stacy Bratcher and Lynn Broughton. Lynn, you're looking good today. Did you get,
Why, thank
did you get a haircut?
Lynn's got hair now.
Actually, I grew my hair
Nice.
out.
So actually Lynn is off today. He's up in Iowa. Joining us today from the chamber is Tina Allen. Good to see you here today.
Good to see you.
And this will go well. I
No
have
guarantees.
faith. Because I'm supposed to start off with today's news stories. I got nothing. I mean, there's nothing really going on in the news. Actually, there's a couple things, but before we do that, I want to say hello to Brian Watts.
Hi,
Brian,
guys.
good to see
Thanks
you.
for coming back. Sure appreciate it.
Good to see you. Yeah, there's been a lot of baseball going on. We'll talk about
Yeah.
that later in the show. But the top story, little touchy story, Jerry Nolte is in the news, and we were talking that a little bit before the show. Jerry Nolte, along with presiding commissioner of Platte County, actually sent out a press release, a letter, and all sorts of other stuff to Quentin Lucas, the mayor of Kansas City. And for those of you who have not seen it, and I'm not going to read the whole letter, but it's there on the screen for those of you who are watching on the television.
Not
For those of
driving.
you who are driving in your car, sorry you can't see it. I'm not going to read that whole letter to you, but it stirred up a little bit of
Well,
controversy.
give us a synopsis of what it says.
Well, basically, in a nutshell, and I'm going to probably murder this, but how would you say that, Brian? I'm trying to be delicate.
He called out the mayor of Kansas City for welcoming everybody, which he was thinking was welcoming illegal aliens or migrants to come to Kansas City like they came to New York and kind of wrecked New York. And Jerry Nolte and I think it's presiding Commissioner Fricker, I think.
I forget the name.
I forget too, of Platte County. They don't want that. We don't want just everybody to come in here. We want legal people to come in and do what they're supposed to do the way they're supposed to do it.
Actually, and I'm trying to go through my notes, we're not supposed to call them illegal aliens.
They're
We're
illegal,
supposed to call
illegal
them
aliens, however you want to say it. but
What
they're
is it? We're
illegal.
supposed to call them visitors from
I don't
somewhere
know,
else.
undocumented workers or something.
Yeah, there was some. I forget what it was. I will say, yeah, I was kind of surprised. I'm glad they did it because that whole program has turned out to be a huge. What's the word I'm looking for? Disaster. And as one who's been in a couple of cities recently where this is going on, I will just say this. The stuff you see on TV does not give it justice at all. Having seen it firsthand and in several cities, it's a mess. It is a mess. Places that a couple of years ago you could walk down the street and go visit, walk to, you can't. We were in a city just over the weekend where you used to be able, we would literally walk down the street and go to different restaurants. You can't do it. You cannot do it. You can't get down the street. So you have to either get an Uber or whatever method you can do, or don't leave the hotel, which is kind of rough if you're there for 3 or 4 days. But yeah, I will just say this for those, and I don't care what TV news you get or where you watch it, it does not give justice to what's really going on. It is a disaster. The business owners are livid. Most of them, I don't want to say most of them, a large number of them are going out of business. They say they can't do business. And some of the shops that we were trying to get to, you literally can't get to even if you wanted to go in there to support that business. You just can't get into it. So
And I
it's a
think,
mess, and you don't want it here.
I had the privilege of hearing Commissioner Nolte speak briefly to this point last Friday at the State of the City's luncheon that the Clay County Economic Development Council was hosting. And one of his main points was the economic impact this has on our communities, not a positive impact, a very negative one. And especially it sounded like perhaps this was something Mayor Lucas acted on independently and didn't get the buy-in or the input from the counties that would be affected by this. And so Commissioner Nolte made it very plain that the commission was not, Clay County was not happy about this decision and the impact it's going to have here.
Well, one of the problems is that, and we've talked about this before when we were talking about the stadium initiative, Kansas City, although a large city, does encompass 4 counties. And the demographic of the 4 counties is very spread out.
Yes.
And to use a term that we all like to use, it's very diverse. But the problem is that Mayor Lucas likes to concentrate on one county, which is Jackson County, when the reality is there are
Many.
a large contingent of the population that lives in Clay and Platte County.
Well,
so
Clay
when
and
you do
Platte
that,
County, sorry, Clay and Platte County are 2 of the largest and fastest growing counties in the state. And so then to bring in these other individuals, whether they're desired or not, it has implications because we don't have the space.
well, we don't have the space, and the reality is, like I said, if you haven't seen it firsthand, you have no idea what it's like. The people who are in these cities they're miserable, they're desperate, they're losing their businesses. A lot of these people are moving out. Some of them are moving out at a loss. In other words, they're gone. They're leaving and they're losing money. But in other news,
Interesting.
Missouri lawmakers narrowly passed legislation to up teacher pay. It incentivizes a 5-day school week and expands tax breaks to help private schools. We'll tell you more about that coming up next on Kearney Live.
Explore a place to visit. Explore knowledge. Explore fun. Explore relaxation. Explore adventure. Explore a hometown. Explore Kearney, Missouri.
Welcome back to Kearney Live. Missouri lawmakers passed sweeping education package on Thursday, April 19th. The legislation raises the minimum pay for Missouri's teachers, and it increases pre-K funding and expands the state's tax credit scholarship program. One of the shining points of the legislation is a pay raise for Missouri teachers, which is long overdue. The bill permanently raises the teacher salary from $25,000 to $40,000. And for those of you who did not know, $25,000 is very low, especially for a teacher and what they have to put up with. It also increases the minimum salary for a seasoned teacher with a master's degree. But one of the provisions gives tax breaks to private schools to help them compete in the education market. Listen to these opinions from KSDK in St. Louis.
School choice supporters compared education to private industry, where capitalism and competition drive some businesses to succeed and gobble up market share. But opponents said that can also open up other struggling schools to more risk and sometimes to closure.
We met high school teacher Nate Gibson on the picket line outside Kipp High School.
Right now we're dealing with turnover where it's 50% year to year. We have people leaving during the year, and that results in gaps in coverage. It results in gaps in our students' education.
Students here experience what many do in Missouri classrooms.
I'm a social studies teacher. They had me in a geometry class, which was run online, running that class, which I'm not certified to do. And my math skills a little iffy over the last couple of years, but I tried to help the best I can, but it's not the same as having a math teacher.
The local teachers union opposed the new state plan to use public money to expand tax breaks and fund private schools.
There's little public oversight over their expenses.
Senate Republican Andrew Koenig wrote that bill.
We basically have a government monopoly.
His plan would pay to help students from wealthier families leave public school and pay for tuition at private school.
And sometimes I disagree with the values that are being taught in the public school. And so I want that option to get the education that my kids deserve.
House Democrats said the better alternative was to support public schools so they can serve everyone.
Not only serve everybody, take everybody back when charter schools fail.
Is that happening?
Yes.
That's not a hypothetical?
No.
Where is that happening?
50% of charter schools in the city of St. Louis have failed over the last decade.
Byron Clemens is with AFT 420.
Most students in the U.S. are public school products. Most people still depend on their local public school districts.
While his group opposed the idea,
It has actually some good things in it.
he hopes those parts are more than just empty promises.
So increasing teacher pay, 5-day school weeks, and expanding the number of teacher recruitment and retention programs and scholarships are all good things, but people are having an issue with tax breaks for private schools. They're probably having some issues with other things as well. Government gives tax breaks to private businesses all the time. The question is, do you think that giving tax breaks to private schools is a problem? I have so many things to say about this. I'm not going to speak. Let's start with Stacy. We'll get her going, and then
my goodness.
Tina can gather her thoughts over here.
Well, I think we all know at this point there is no one piece of legislation that is ever perfect. It's always going to have its ups and downs. We've talked about it here on this show many times where our politicians are voting for the good stuff that's in the bill, and sometimes you have to take the bad with it. I can tell you, I don't have much to say about this bill. I'm not versed in the education arena, but I can tell you that I received, several of us in the Kearney community received an email from the school district on April 2nd regarding Senate Bill 727 and several of the items in it. And I know they passed this a few days past April 2nd, so I don't know if any of the things that our school district was concerned about got changed. But Superintendent Miller spells out several things that was in that package that will actually negatively affect our school district, because the problem is with this package, they're treating all school systems the same, and they're not. Giving those teacher pay increases, that will benefit the teachers in our rural communities, but will actually hurt the rural schools who can't afford it. It benefits the teachers in the urban areas who aren't making that money and should be. But in Kearney, our teachers are already making above that $40,000 threshold. Just barely, but they are. And so with a lot of these changes, that the ability for our school district to continue to pay those salaries is going to be majorly affected. And from what I understand, there was a lot of issue with some of this bill. It didn't take into account transportation and whether it would be fully funded or not. And it didn't take into account, like it said in several places where if they meet whatever criteria, that this would be continued the next year and the next year and next year. But it wasn't based on the formula that they use to fund the schools, the formula being fully funded. And so if the formula is not fully funded, but you're expected to implement these spending measures, you're going to cripple our schools. So I don't know. There's great things about this, but then there's also some really hurtful things, and it just really depends on where you're located.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think you're trying to do a one-size-fits-all,
Yep.
but you know, education has changed so much over the last 5 or 10 years.
Absolutely.
How do we fix it? How do we get it? Because our kids, the one thing that is absolutely certain, our kids are falling behind. They're behind of where
Absolutely.
in other countries.
Yes.
How do we get them up to speed?
Oh man, that's a bigger question. I don't know that there's an like Stacy said, one size fits all. I think you have to take small increments, start there, work from there, and you have to really look at what is private school offering that public school isn't offering. Why would a parent choose private school from public? Public school offers a lot of free benefits. They are paying for that child to go to school there. Why would you do that? When we give in our country, we give it freely. Freely.
Good point. There's a reason.
And so, we're not going to make everyone happy. We're just not. But I think if we're losing vast amounts of students to private school, then we need to be looking at that. Do we need more teachers? Pay is definitely at the top. Pay, pay, pay. So, is it tax dollars? Do we need to be putting more money? Or do we, if they're going to pay for their kid to go to a private school, pay your school districts.
So, what I think it comes down to is it's simple economics. So if your teachers are paid better, you're going to get better teachers, right? So it's simple supply and demand. So you pay more for your teacher, you're going to get a better quality teacher. If you pay your teacher bottom of the barrel, you're going to get bottom of the barrel teachers for the most part. Same thing goes with the education though. You want your kids, you want the best thing for your kids you can get. So you want your kids to have your best education. Why? Because when they grow up, do you want them taking care of you or do you want to take care of them? So if your kids go out and get high quality, high paying jobs because they're better educated, that means that you don't have to mow your own lawn anymore. When you get older, they'll take care of it for you. But you just don't want to get into a situation where your kids are poorly educated and then you aren't able to provide them with the best resources and so they could move on. We've seen videos from public schools where it's out of control. It's absolutely out of control. Yeah. So you blame who you want, but if I'm a parent that's sending my kid somewhere, I don't want to send them into that environment. And
when you have 30 kids in a classroom, a teacher cannot give adequate time to 30 kids. And what is a private school teacher making? Is she making more than our public school teachers? We've got to figure out the balance. And I don't think we are doing that. Our rural communities are suffering. Those children suffer because they don't have access to things because those schools can't afford it. But yet we need those rural communities. And we need those kids that, are farmer based or whatever the reason is that they choose to live in those communities. Every district is important, but yet we seem to only focus on sometimes the inner city where they're so vastly overcrowded, and you have the issues of drugs and violence. And then you have a place like Kearney. It's outgrowing faster than we can get people hired. Teachers, not people. Right. So I think we really need to focus and work on what we need to do. And also, if a teacher retires, I saw in the bill, they're capped at what they can work part-time. Sometimes we're ready to retire, but we're not ready to quit working.
Right.
So if that retired teacher can still come back and work 3 days out of the week, but her retirement says she can only work 1 or 2 days, wouldn't I rather keep that teacher as a part-time to help us keep that flow and keep those classes running smoother, in my mind?
Yeah, and I still think, bottom line, it comes down to it's simple economics. It's simple economics. If I'm going to be a teacher and I'm going to go and I'm kind of hamstrung by what I can do, I have to listen to kids abuse me all day. I'm not allowed. I mean, our discipline in the schools has gotten out of control, so I can't do all these things, and I'm going to make not very much money, but I'm educated. I can walk across the street and get a job doing whatever else, and I'll make something out, marketing or business development or whatever. Why would I not go do that? I mean, that's simple economics.
Well, and that's
So-
what we're seeing happening.
Right.
That's why we
Right.
have a lack of teachers.
And so I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Who funds public schools?
We do.
How do we do that? Anybody?
Taxes.
Just yell out when you know the answer. Taxes.
Taxes.
Is this a
How
trick
many
question?
people right now are willing to give a tax pay rate or pay more in taxes to fund their school? They're not. Not because
They
they
already proved that.
Yeah, exactly. And I said this back when we had the bond issue for the schools. It isn't because they don't like schools. It isn't because they don't like their school district. The problem is right now that taxes across the board have such a negative thing because we're paying for so much stuff that has nothing to do with anything. People are just tired of paying taxes. They're done. And so good luck getting any kind of legislation with a bond issue
Right.
passed.
Yeah, and that's
coming
pretty much
up in
what
the
they're
near
pushing
future.
them into.
That's why
with this.
you're not going to be able to do it. So you're driving yourself into a hole. You're not going to get tax revenue, which means you can't raise teacher salary to what it needs to be. Sure, this is a great step, not even close to where it needs to be, in
No.
my opinion. And if you made teacher salaries very, very high and made it a coveted position, you would have the world's top-notch teachers, and it would trickle down. You would have education where your kids are learning more and better. However, it's something that we discuss, and the ability to
Yes.
discuss properly, apparently, we're not doing it right.
No, we are not doing very well with that at all. Would you like to know how to cultivate civility and disagree better?
No, that's just stupid.
Well, I don't care what you think. We're going to talk about it coming up next on Kearney Live.
The Kearney Family Chiropractic Center. Whether you're looking for relief from everyday aches and pains or looking to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle, Kearney Family Chiropractic Center can help. Dr. Mark Strathman has over 27 years of experience and treats the whole person physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Kearney Family Chiropractic Center is taking appointments now at 816-628-6738. The office is located at 301 South Platte Clay Way, Suite B in Kearney, and their website is kearneyfamilychiro.com. Experience the power of wellness at Kearney Family Chiropractic Center.
Kearney Trust Company is a partner for success. Information, speed, and convenience are all valuable commodities in our fast-paced world, and Kearney Trust focuses on trying to fill the needs of all of their customers, whether they are running a company or a household. Kearney Trust, with 2 locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper, or on the web at kearneytrust.com. Kearney Trust Company, our town, your bank, member FDIC.
More reliable power means more of what you love. You expect your lights and appliances to turn on at the flip of a switch, and so does Platte Clay Electric Cooperative. That's why Platte Clay is working hard to make power more reliable in the Northland. We exist for one purpose: to empower communities and energize life with safe and reliable energy. To learn more about their plan to reduce outages across the Northland, visit www.pcec.coop/reliability. Platte Clay Electric Cooperative.
Welcome back to Kearney Live. It is no secret that we live in a polarized world. Even if you ignore politics, good luck trying that. You'd also have to ignore entertainment news, like coworkers squabbling over Taylor Swift, I don't know. Sports news, like my co-anchors talking about the Chiefs all the time or the Royals.
Oh, by the way, Andy Reid
And
got his contract
yeah,
extended.
exactly. See? And then there's social media with dislikes and trolls and stupid things gone viral. I mean, you can't escape the polarization. But one impressive group is trying to ratchet down fiery rhetoric by helping people have conversations. Braver Angels, a nonprofit organization with thousands of volunteers, holds workshops and programs to advance the art of civil conversation, something maybe we should be teaching in our schools. With both red and blue facilitators, the group's mission is to bring Americans together to bridge the partisan divide and strengthen our democratic republic. It encourages treating others with honesty, dignity, and respect through engagement, seeking common ground, and fostering cooperation. So, Tina and Jim, they say the alternative to fury and dominating power is nonviolence. That nonviolence cultivates the spiritual, moral, and psychological discipline not to demonize opponents. And I know you love to do that. Would you agree or disagree that the most effective way to make change is to understand where enemies are coming from, not to humiliate them? And why?
That's stupid. Tina?
Well, I agree with you a little bit, Jen.
Thank you. Can I go home now?
Well, I mean, your enemies, I think we always understand what drives a person is they're not willing to be kind. We live in a world where bullying sometimes wins. We see it in team sports. The refs or the team players don't always act accordingly. We see it sometimes as parents when we have more than one kid. With friends, sometimes we like one friend's opinion more than we like another's. I think that if we can just try to do it with a little bit more kindness, and we teach our children understanding, be patient, be kind, but we don't treat each other with those same three philosophies. That's all I got, Jim.
That's all I got to say about that. I think where we really went south, honestly, is the internet, social media, because you have two things going on. Number one, you have your keyboard warrior.
Right.
They can sit and type all day long, and a lot of times without recourse. So they just think they can just say what they want, and everything will be fine. I have a story for that in just a minute, because I have a story for everything. But the second thing is people so as a result, we've end up with this big contingent of people that are complaining about something, or they want to argue about something, but they really don't know what they're arguing about. And if you want to know that, look no further. That's what's going on over at Columbia University and all these protests. They're protesting, but when the reporters have done this time and time again, they'll go in and ask the protester what they're protesting about, and they don't know. They start asking them detailed questions. They don't even know why they're there, because they were told to be there, or they want to. I get it. When you're in college, you want to go protest. You know everything. We did it back in the 60s. Did I just? It happened back in the 60s. You're protesting. At least back then, I like to think, the protests over the Vietnam War, but they understood that. They understood more about the Vietnam War than what these protesters are out there today. I don't even think they know why they're there. They throw a mask on and they want to go stand out and parade and protest, but you ask them what they're really protesting. And the funny thing is, it's the same thing with politics. We've gotten into this thing where I don't like so-and-so. Why? Well, they're just mean, or whatever the case may be. And it's on both sides. I'm not picking one side or the other, but nobody knows what they're arguing for. They're just arguing to argue, but they don't have any facts. And we've gotten too lazy to even go look up our own facts.
Right.
How many people, this is my favorite, get on Facebook, is it snowing outside? Does your house not have windows? You need to get that checked into. They'll sit there and go, how are the roads? Do you not have a television? Because there's 24-hour coverage. Every time a flake falls out of the sky here in Kansas City, We have 24-hour coverage on what the roads are like. We have cameras every mile. And you're like, oh, I got to get on Facebook. Are the roads slick? So we've come to a society where we can't even do our own research.
Right.
We're arguing about stuff.
Well, and even if you do your own research, you don't know if it's true or not.
Right.
Fear is the lack of knowledge.
Right.
And if you don't know where to get the knowledge, or you don't know how to discern if the knowledge is even true or not, then where does that leave us? But I feel like one of the keys to this is even using the word enemies. I don't know if any of you do YouTube or not. Our sons kind of turned us on to one of these YouTube channels. It's called Seek Discomfort. And they do these videos, these young men from across the country. They go to all kinds of different places that you would never think to go. They try to literally seek discomfort by going to the worst city in the world. They go there, or they go find the city where the people are living the longest, and they go find out why. And they go do all these strange things, go to the coldest place, go to the hottest place, all these things that are uncomfortable. But it's been so interesting watching, no matter where they go, they always find wonderful, like-minded people who are willing to help and be kind and show them around and bring them into their houses and feed them. I mean, it's just incredible. You find it everywhere you go. And so I think a lot of times we find what we seek, right?
Right.
If we want to have enemies and we want discourse and we want hatred, that's what you're going to breed. But if you want the opposite of all of that, you want peace and harmony and unity, you're going to find that, and it's going to find you. And there's my soapbox, sorry.
Well, the old adage, birds of a feather flock together. So if you're looking for the bird for kindness and generosity, empathy and compassion, you'll find it. But if you look for the bird that's going to peck your eyes out, so to speak, you'll find that too.
So I have so many questions.
I don't want to find that.
We'll get to your birds in a minute. What was the worst city?
Oh, shoot. I can't remember.
New York.
No. Well, we just watched one the other night. It was a place in Peru that there's like 50,000 people living at the base of this glacier. And glacier in Peru? Okay. But it is, and it is a completely lawless community. They were instructed, do not go out at night. They went without any preparation just to see what would happen. They didn't have someone there waiting for them to guide them and welcome them. They just showed up and to see what would happen. And you know what? The very first person they ran into was the kindest gentleman with the greatest smile, who helped them, educated them, took them around, helped them to know, don't go here, do go there. But he actually did take them into a couple of the seedier places in the evening. And they didn't stay there long, but they got to go in and experience it. And no harm ever came to them, but they definitely heard a lot of harm going on around them. And it was really interesting.
I was going to say they got kind of lucky, I would think.
But it happened, and maybe they're pulling our chain and they're really setting all of this up. Who knows? But every single city, it doesn't matter what continent, what country, everywhere they go, they run into the most wonderful human beings. And that's what they are. It doesn't matter their ethnicity, where they were born, what they think, where they come from. You can always find mutual understanding in our humanity.
All right. Stacy Bratcher will be joining you for motivational speaking and how to improve your lifestyle Mondays at 2 or whenever it is. Did they have politicians over there?
There have not been any politicians.
No politicians.
Maybe
Well,
that's the key.
Well, the interesting thing is the questions related to politicians and whether or not they really act in our best interests are on the rise. The question is, who are these politicians? Why is this happening? And have things changed over time? We'll talk about it coming up next.
Kearney Trust Company is a partner for success. Information, speed, and convenience are all valuable commodities in our fast-paced world, and Kearney Trust focuses on trying to fill the needs of all of their customers, whether they are running a company or a household. Kearney Trust, with 2 locations in Kearney at 310 West 92 Highway and 701 Watson Drive in Price Chopper, or on the web at kearneytrust.com. Kearney Trust Company, our town, your bank, member FDIC.
Electric cooperatives are different. We have a sense of pride in our local community and support the people who live here. That's why Platte Clay Electric Cooperative supports local schools, takes an active role in economic development, and works hard to keep costs down for its members. We exist for one purpose, to empower communities and energize life with safe and reliable energy. To learn more about how Platte Clay Electric Cooperative is working to achieve that mission, visit www.pcec.coop. Platte Clay Electric Cooperative.
The Kearney Family Chiropractic Center. Whether you're looking for relief from everyday aches and pains or looking to maintain a healthy, active lifestyle, Kearney Family Chiropractic Center can help. Dr. Mark Strathman has over 27 years of experience and treats the whole person physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Kearney Family Chiropractic Center is taking appointments now at 816-628-6738. The office is located at 301 South Platte Clay Way, Suite B in Kearney, and their website is kearneyfamilychiro.com. Experience the power of wellness at Kearney Family Chiropractic Center.
When I say the word politician, most people, like Stacy just did, shudder, shrivel. Yeah, exactly. Hey. But they used to be people that were looked up to. They used to be leaders. They used to be the elite. They used to be people, I mean, you elected your officials and they were people who looked out for your best interest.
Right.
They said things that back then you listened to them in a speech, and now they're actually a part of history. Things like this.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
I do not believe that any of us would exchange places with any other people or any other generation. The energy, the faith, the devotion which we bring to this endeavor will light our country and all who serve it. And the glow from that fire can truly light the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
So those are just a couple of literally thousands of clips like that where things they said became historical. And the funny thing is, as we were sitting here watching, as I'm sure as you were watching at home, everybody in this studio, as the speech was going on, quoted the speech because we knew what was coming. The ask not what you get. That is famous and everybody knows it. So the question is, how did we go from that to this?
I also think that what people are starting to see, at least in the occupation of Palestine, is just an increasing crisis of humanitarian condition.
You use the term the occupation of Palestine?
I think what I meant is like the settlements, places where Palestinians are experiencing difficulty.
Do you think you can expand on that?
I am not the expert on geopolitics on this issue.
I don't have the exact dimensions, but to your point, sir, I think Guam is a small island.
Very small island, and about 24 miles, if I recall, long. So 24 miles long, about 7 miles wide at the least widest place on the island, and about 12 miles wide on the widest part of the island. And I don't know how many square miles that is. Do you happen to know?
I don't have that figure with me, sir. I can certainly supply it to you if you'd like.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Just go ahead and take a moment to capture all that in your mind. Tina, let's start with you. What exactly do you think would have to happen to make an island capsize? Take your time.
Well, that's easy. You just put everybody goes to one side of the island.
Yeah. Everybody build on one side, and it's going into the ocean. Really, come on.
Can you?
I can't even believe he said that.
What's the last island that capsized? I can't remember when that happened. Is Hawaii going to tip over? Do we need to prepare for this?
Capsize with or without a tsunami?
Stacy, will go to you now. Which one of those two do you think historically will be in a speech where everybody sits around and goes, yes?
Of the last two speakers?
Yes.
Is there another option?
So, so to be fair, I'm sure of all the politicians that are out there that we saw the good speeches from, the one from Kennedy, the one from Reagan, and there's all sorts of historical ones. Yeah, they did say some stuff that just...
I'm sure they had their blunders.
Yeah, they had their blunders.
Yeah.
TV wasn't as prominent back then,
Right.
so they didn't have as many, but I will say they were more knowledgeable about what they were talking about. The problem
they were well
with
prepped before they spoke.
Yes, and the problem with these hearings, and the last one is an example, these hearings have become, number one, they're pointless, because after the hearing's over, nothing ever happens. So I'm not sure why we do them.
Yeah.
But number two, they use their time as a political grandstand so they can use it for political commercials later. It's not trying to get to resolve a point. So over the years, how would you say your attitude towards and your impression of politicians has changed as we've progressed?
When they speak, it seems like stupidity. Just being blunt. When you look at the older presidents and the older senators and so forth and the military, they spoke a little bit more eloquently, and they spoke on things that they knew. If they didn't set themselves up to be made fun of, so to speak. I don't enjoy, really, to be honest with you, they come on, click, I turn it off. I would rather read something versus listen to you try to make sense out of something that you don't know. If you don't know, how am I supposed to know?
trying not to get in trouble here. So you said, why are you laughing, Brian? So you said the older politicians make...
Not old politicians.
Okay.
The older videos
The
we
older
saw.
videos. Let me, Jim, don't lead me
I-
down a
I
rabbit hole. You won't like it.
Stacy.
Oh my.
Oh my, Brian, why
Here
are
we
you
go.
laughing? Brian's laughing again.
Brian's red. I think Jim
so-
set us up on this one.
Yeah, well, it was one of those things. The more I keep seeing these over and over, I see politicians saying stuff that makes no sense whatsoever.
Mhm.
And going back to what we talked about before, we have people that are arguing just to argue. We have people talking about, they have no clue what they got. Their 4 talking points are going to run out, but if you go past that, they don't know what they're talking about. But I think what happens is people are losing faith in a number of different things.
Respect.
Our institutions,
Yep.
our courts,
Agreed.
and our politicians.
Mhm.
And our politicians, I mean, like I said, they used to be looked up to. Now, not so much. I
Well-
think there used to be a thing where someone would walk in and go, that guy over there, he's a representative or whatever. They walk in the room now and you're like, phew.
I feel like there was a time when our leaders held themselves to a higher standard.
Yes.
They conducted themselves in a fashion that met with the office they were either achieving, striving towards, or held. I think now the tide has changed and our office holders expect the respect because they hold the office instead of the other way around. And you're going to fail. But I think what you said earlier about we see them more now. TV, internet, YouTube, all these things. We see these people all the time. And I'm sure if we go back through all of our videos for Kearney Live, we're going to see plenty of blunders between us. Yes, even you, Jim. But so we need to give them a little grace. But gosh, you know, Bambi's mom said it best, or sorry, Thumper's mom said it best. If you can't say anything nice, or let's say if you can't say anything right, don't say anything at all.
Right.
That was a great quote. It reminds me of, fool me once, shame on
Yes.
me. Fool me twice,
And who
and don't get fooled again.
That's not quite how that went, but
Well,
who said that
that's
quote?
what George Bush said. Junior. Remember when he said that? He got in the middle of the quote, and I got to admit,
And he
I've done the
messed it
same thing.
up.
You get in the middle of the quote, and then you can't remember what the rest of the quote is. And he did it, but the problem was he did it on like live TV, and he's like, you know,
Whoops.
fooled and don't get fooled again. And that is not what the quote was. But so the question becomes, do you think politicians are working in the best interest
Mm-hmm.
of their constituents? And then I have a follow-up.
No.
No.
They're working for themselves, for their own agendas. They're not listening to their constituents. They're motivated by what they want, not by what we want. And we see that even in our own local government, not to point anybody
Okay,
out.
so the question is, because this is my follow-up, they're elected. Why do we keep electing people into positions that clearly are not working in our best interests? And I will say I agree with you. What the government is doing at any number of levels is not what I would say in the best interest of. Well, look at the thing we had in the earlier segment with
right.
or in the news block
With Quentin
Lucas.
and the counties. Yeah.
Clearly not in the best interest of what what
entire
seems to
area
be the
wanted.
entire area wants to see, but yet unilaterally we're just doing whatever.
Right. Well, first of all, change is hard.
True.
Staying with familiar people. And also, sometimes people vote based on whether they like you.
It's like
whether
a
you dress the
See,
way.
we've talked about that.
Right.
It's a popularity contest, and you need to research who you're voting for. Don't go by, oh, I saw that person's picture on a billboard or
Right.
whatever the case may be.
Right. And also, I think a lot of times we don't want to do our research, so we just we just vote for the previous person because, again, we're familiar with the stuff they're not going to do or what they are going to do. But we also understand a lot of times when they get in office, they are doing their own agenda. I know I didn't vote for some things for you to do, but putting pressure on them doesn't seem to dissuade some of our politicians.
True.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Keep in mind that the same people who get on the internet and ask you if it's snowing outside are the same people who vote.
Right.
Our final thoughts are next.
Explore a place to visit. Explore knowledge. Explore fun. Explore relaxation. Explore adventure. Explore a hometown. Explore Kearney, Missouri.
And welcome back to Kearney Live. You come in on an argument because we're debating on who's going to go first. So, without further ado, let's go to Stacy.
Okay. If you haven't heard, there is so much going on in Kearney, especially coming up in the month of May. I want to get these things on your calendar so that you can plan for it. The farmers market starts May 4th. There's a new Kearney car show. The Kearney Motor Show is starting on May 4th. From 10 to 2 at First United Methodist Church. We've got the Smithsonian Crossroads exhibit at the library is opening up on May 5th or 3rd, sorry, no. Gosh, now I'm getting all confused. The first weekend of May. There is so much going on. If you want to know what's happening in your community, check out the Visit Kearney mobile app, and all of the information is right there for you at your fingertips.
Hang on, I'm updating my calendar. Here, May 4th, got it. All right, Tina.
And I'm going to tie in with Stacy's. Mother's Day is coming up. As mother, and I'm a mother, and Stacy's a mother.
I'm not a mother.
You are not a mother.
Well, you're a type of mother.
Yes, you
but
are.
My wife cooks like a mother.
I would like to say this year, think about something thoughtful. Although we love the flowers and the perfumes, but I would like to say to my 3 girls, I would love to have an experience, a memory that we'll be able to cherish the next Mother's Day. And you can still buy the flowers and the candy and the perfume. But think about going to one of Stacy's event. It doesn't have to be on Mother's Day, so to speak. But think about doing something thoughtful and not just purchasing a gift for your mother.
Very good.
Write her a note.
Yeah, hi, I'd like to cancel that flower order from my mom.
No. Still buy the flowers.
Hang on, I'll call you back. All right. I'm glad you mentioned Mother's Day, though, because I got to make sure to take care of that.
Yes.
You may have noticed for the last couple of weeks, Kearney Live was not on. That is because we were preempted by Kearney baseball. The Kearney Bulldogs baseball is on the air. We're actually covering that. And yes, for those of you who are going to write letters and emails, we get them. We are working on softball still because it's a logistical thing. But I would like to say congratulations to the Kearney Bulldogs. I have been listening on the road a lot to those games. Those guys do a great job. Kelly Gentry usually heads it up, but The Kearney Bulldogs are 18-7 currently.
Wow.
So they are doing great.
Dang.
The Bulldogs will be on the air next on the 29th at 5 p.m. when they take on Winnetonka. If you have not caught a game on the radio, they are very good. They're exciting to listen to, especially when your team is 18-7. And we should be starting the playoffs here before long, I would think. Yeah, on the 4th. So another thing, may the 4th be with you. And don't forget Mother's Day, and don't forget flower shops all around the area are probably very mad right about now.
That's not what I meant, Jim. Still get the flowers.
Okay, everybody run out and get flowers. We're going to do it. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next week on Kearney Live.